Today, me and Alex are going on a barbecue battle. We're both making St. Louis style ribs. We different smokers, different pellets. Neither one of us knows what the other one is doing to their ribs. The only rule is we have to show up with our ribs at 4:30 p.m. this afternoon, ready for the judging. So let's see who wins. Today, me and Alex are doing a barbecue battle. We're both cooking St. Louis ribs, and there's really no rules. I don't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what I'm doing. The only rule is it's got to be St. Louis ribs, and we got to have them ready for the judges at 4:30 p.m. So let's see what happens. Okay, first thing we do is we come and we turn on the smoker. I like to set mine to 225, and it's kicking on. I don't know if you guys can see it in the glare, but it's right up there. I'll show you on my app because I have an awesome smoker controller. Always make sure you have pellets. You don't want to run out of pellets mid-cook. Make sure the neighbor's cat is not in your smoker. Also important. I don't know how cat tastes when you barbecue it, but I also don't want to ever find out. We start off with our St. Louis style ribs, ready prepped on my cookie sheet with a grate. Today I'm going to be using Salt Lick Dry Rub Original. So this is brand new, never opened it. Actually, I've never even tried it. I really hope it's good. I probably shouldn't try new things when I'm doing a cook-off against Alex. That man is a barbecue master, and I am just lucky to eat some of his cooking sometimes. All right, that's just. Now I will admit I don't do a lot of St. Louis style ribs. I do baby backs. I like to do them close to 3-to-1 method. They tend to fall off the bone. Okay, that's the top, heavily seasoned. Now for the bottom. You'll notice I didn't pull the membrane off. I don't think it's worth it on baby backs. I hope it's not gonna make a big difference on the St. Louis ribs. But I do know you literally cannot season this stuff too heavy. Give it a little pat, and now make sure the ribs are not folded over on top of each other. And that looks perfect. Okay, the ribs have been resting, pulling in all the moisture from the outside and locking it in with that salt. The smoker is ready, so now we're gonna put these babies on the smoker. Okay guys, ribs are ready to go on the smoker. It's at a nice 225. Pop this open, and there we go. These are gonna stay uncovered in the smoker for about 3.5 hours. We're gonna try something new. We're trying lots of new things today.
Meanwhile,
welcome back, guys. We got an impromptu rib video. Johann has called me out, so we're gonna do a quick rib comparison and take them up to a local brewery / venue. We can do side by side comparison and enjoy some local beer. As you can tell, it is quite windy here today. Air on the side of caution and go heavy. Some of this nice and stuck on, and give it a second little dusting here. Hit any spots that are a little dry. I've already pulled the membrane off of this, trimmed off a few little tags and bits that got left on at the meat cutter. We will get these guys on the pit. We're going to go 3, 2, 1. Starting out at 250. I'm probably going to crank them when we get them wrapped because I'm running a little behind schedule, per the usual. And also because I tend to take mine a little bit beyond competition. Normally, I like pretty much fall off the bone ribs. I don't mind competition ribs, but I prefer fall off. Same as I prefer St. Louis to baby back, but I do not mind eating some baby back ribs. All right, that's it for seasoning. Get these guys on the rack. Get them in the pit. We'll come back and see you in just a little bit. Okay, guys. That's how we're looking. Got the ribs on a rack on top. We got a water pan on the bottom. We're coming up to 250. See you in 3 hours.
Meanwhile,
It's been about 2-ish hours. Time to just make sure these ribs are still coming along and looking great. Because you know we got to beat Alex. He's quite the proud man about his barbecue, and honestly, he has reason to. He makes ridiculously good barbecue. So the only thing I've ever been able to beat him on is baby back ribs. So let's see if I can keep that up and beat him on St. Louis style ribs. All right, I do have a secret that Alex doesn't know. I've never ever mentioned it, and I'm doing it to us. So I'm using a spritz, which is a mix of 2 parts apple juice, 1 part bourbon. I picked Old Forester because this was delicious and I had it around. Put it in a spray bottle, and we are spritzing these ribs every 45-ish minutes just to keep them moist. Time for the spritz. You can really pick up that bourbon and apple flavor on this spritz. I'm not flipping these over, I'm just doing them to the top. And I'm not trying to get them soaking wet, it's just a little bit extra. We're building layers of flavor here. And hopefully this is enough to beat Alex at his game. Time for another quick spritz. We're not trying to get this super wet, just impart some flavor. I know some of the previous spritzes, this is super soaked, but the ribs are about to get wrapped, so there we go. And the ribs are about to come off, so I'm prepping so I can wrap these ribs. So what I got is some brown sugar. Just gonna cover my foil. It's gonna sound super loud while I do this. Make sure I kind of cover the whole area where the ribs are gonna lay, spread it out, you know. This is gonna help us create a nice glaze on these ribs. So that's step 1. Step 2, it is called barrels. Beards and barbecue after all. So I measured out 1 ounce, and I'm just gonna pour this in, and this is gonna reinforce that yummy bourbon flavor to it. Now, I didn't measure it. This one I'm going by a little bit of feeling. It's just apple juice. I'm just gonna put a little bit in there. And this is gonna help steam and braise the ribs. It's gonna help them fall off the bone. Just plain apple juice. And then, to help the stickiness in the braise, a little bit of butter. All right, guys. Now, time to go get those ribs off the smoker. All right, guys, ribs have been on the smoker for just about 3 hours. We've spritzed them a few times. Time for these to come off and get wrapped. So put them over here on the side. Close my smoker. Don't want to lose any heat while we're wrapping these bad boys up. They look so good. All right, we brought the ribs in. What we're looking for is, as we take these, see that little hang? That's perfect. So now what I do is I put them meat down on top of everything we prepped. And we want to wrap these nice and tight. Okay? You want to, no air escaping out of these at all. We're trying to braise the heck out of these. Okay. Notice how I'm wrapping them super tight with my fingers? Perfect. No air escaping. This is going back on the smoker, meat down. Okay. Smoker open, meat down, close. Double check we got pellets, which we do. And now, the trick. I'm gonna up the temp from 225 to 250. All right, temp is set. Those bad boys are gonna stay on there for about an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Meanwhile.
All right, guys, welcome back. It's been 3 hours, and it is time for us to move to the next step. We're going to wrap these ribs. I'm just going to put down a little bit of butter and a little bit of cider vinegar. Nothing fancy. Get plenty more flavor when we sauce these. These are going to end up being some sticky ribs. Oh, you uncooperative little guy. Okay, we'll get the foil. Oh, wait, I'm not getting some of this stuff. I get the foil crinkled up a little bit so that our cider vinegar doesn't run away from it. Don't need a lot. We just need a little liquid in there. Hold this up. These sealed in this little foil envelope where they can braise and steam. We'll be back in 2 hours. We'll work on a glaze. I'll see you back then.
Meanwhile.
The ribs have been on and wrapped for about 2 hours, so time for them to get off the smoker. They are going to be hot, so I have a napkin. Let's take them. Okay, just pulled the ribs off the smoker. They smell delicious, amazing. You got some yummy juice. I'm pretty sure you guys can see that little meat. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna flip these back, rib side down. There we go. Get this foil out of there. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're gonna put on some barbecue sauce. Now what Alex doesn't know is I mixed in a little bit of this Old Forester bourbon into my barbecue sauce, just to give us an extra little bit, you know, because we are trying to beat him at a game he is arguably too good at. Okay, so we're just gonna cover that. You know, with the bourbon on here, it's a very thin sauce. I think a little thin sauce is probably better. We're just trying to get a little glaze on this. Also, I left the barbecue sauce outside on the smoker to help thin it out. Because if you get too cold of a sauce, it's thick and it creates more of a stickiness to the ribs than a glaze. All right. Smells amazing. Time for the bad boys to go back on the smoker. Okay, back on the smoker for the last little bit, just to get this sauce nice and sticky and stuck to the ribs. And I didn't put it on video, but I turned it back down to 225. We don't want to overcook these ribs. We're trying to keep the moistness inside.
Meanwhile.
Okay, guys, it's been another 2 hours. We're going to pull these ribs, take a look, and get our first little baste on them with barbecue sauce that I mixed with bourbon and a little bit of maple syrup. The barbecue sauce is one Johann gave me. Jack Stack barbecue. I've never had it before, so it's be a first for me. See if Johann notices. Let's see what have we done here? Okay. Try not to drip too much. Uh-oh. Oh no, we're losing bones already. These are not going to be competition ribs. As I said, I don't really dislike competition ribs, but that's also not my goal when I'm cooking for myself. Okay, let's see if I can do this without getting dirty. I'm gonna put our first little bit of glaze on these ribs. Put it on the underside. I do glaze both sides, but don't glaze the underside judiciously. I do glaze the underside judiciously. So you want to glaze light. You don't want to go heavy. You just want to get a little on there. You want to let it start to tack up. We're going to take this water dish out of here. That will definitely not aid our barbecue sauce in tacking up. That should be enough for that side. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. Flip them over. Put a nice glaze on the top, and from that point on, they will stay meat side up, and we will continue to glaze them every 15 minutes until it's time to go and drink some yummy beer. We're going to go this evening and meet up at a place in Pearland called Valencin's. It's won quite a number of awards. They've got a lot of good beer there. A guy named Val and his wife own it, and for years now they've been making high quality beer just blocks away. Lucky to be in the neighborhood. We'll see you soon.
Meanwhile.
Okay guys, the cook is over. Time to pull the ribs. Just look at that. Beautiful dark glaze on them. They look amazing. I don't have a free hand right now, so I'm gonna turn the smoker off using the app on my phone. As soon as I get these bad boys inside. Woohoo. Alex better be on top of his game today or he's gonna lose. All right, pulling up the app and slide off. There we go. Smoker is shutting down, and now it's time for me to slice up these ribs and cut them so we can get them loaded up into a foil pan over here and take them to a judging. Okay, we're ready to cut up these ribs. So I can already tell, just pulling on this bone a little bit to flip it over, these are gonna just fall off. So pro tip, flip them over, and then you can see where the ribs are, so you can make nice, clean cuts. Of course, you know, even then, I still cut into the bone. There, so I'm gonna keep cutting these. Let me show you guys one. Ooh. Look at that smoke ring. That just looks delicious. So I'll keep cutting these back on my way.
All right, so this is the moment everything built up to all day, the judging. We walked into the area, and it was absolute chaos. People everywhere, music playing, kids yelling, and the smell of barbecue everywhere. And right here, Alex pulls his ribs off the smoker. He'd been guarding his cook all day like it was top secret. This was the first time I actually saw them. Meanwhile, my ribs were already sliced and looking pretty good. Now Alex starts slicing his ribs, and this is one of those moments where you can tell a lot just from the first cut. When you slice into a rack like this, you're watching for a few things right away. You want the bark to hold together, the meat to stay juicy, and the bones to separate clean without the whole rack falling apart. Every pitmaster knows this moment. You've spent hours cooking, waiting, adjusting temperature, spritzing, and now it all comes down to that knife going through the ribs. If the meat tears, something went wrong. If it falls apart too easily, it probably cooked too long. But if you nailed it, the knife slides through smooth, and every rib holds its shape. And honestly, at this point, I still had no idea how his ribs were going to stack up against mine. All right, here we go. Alex takes his first bite. And right away, he's showing off the smoke ring, which honestly looks pretty solid. Nice color, good depth, exactly what you want to see after a long cook on the smoker. Now, the smoke ring doesn't actually guarantee flavor, but it does tell you the smoke did its job early in the cook. And visually, that rack of ribs looked really good. At this point, I knew the judging was going to be close. All right, now comes the real test. Alex tries my ribs, and this is honestly the moment I'd been waiting for all day, because Alex is not the kind of guy who's going to pretend something tastes good if it doesn't. If my ribs were bad, he was absolutely going to say it. You can see him thinking about it while he's chewing. He's checking the texture, the bark, the tenderness, basically running through the same mental checklist every barbecue cook does when they taste ribs. What you're looking for is that perfect bite. When you take a bite, the meat should pull cleanly from the bone, but the rest of the rib should stay intact. Too tough, and you undercooked it. Too soft, and you went too far. But when you hit it just right, that's the sweet spot. And at this point, we still didn't know which rack was better. Both of them looked good. Both of them had good smoke color. So the only way to settle it was to bring in some judges. And we picked the toughest judges we could find, the kids. So we brought in the toughest judges we could find, the kids. They tried both racks, and by the smallest possible margin, they gave the win to Johann. But Alex wasn't done yet. Right after the rib judging, He pulls out a brisket he had been cooking the whole time. And brisket is a completely different challenge. Ribs are one thing, but brisket is where pitmasters really prove themselves. Now Alex starts slicing into the brisket, and with brisket, the slice tells you everything. Too dry and it's overcooked. Too tough and it needed more time. But when it's done right, the slices hold together and stay incredibly juicy. And right here you can see the smoke ring on the brisket. That deep pink line just under the bark is exactly what pitmasters love to see after a long cook. It means the brisket spent hours absorbing smoke, while the outside slowly built that crust. Alex keeps slicing through the flat, and every slice is looking pretty consistent. That's actually harder than it sounds, because brisket has different muscles and fat levels throughout the cut. If you slice it wrong, the texture can completely change. But these slices are holding together really nicely. You can see the juices still sitting in the meat, the bark holding on the outside, and everything looking tender. And now we get the final test, the brisket bend test. He lays the slice over his finger, and that's exactly what you want to see. It bends, holds together, and looks incredibly tender. That's the kind of brisket that disappears fast once people start eating.